Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're digging into something that's got the tech world buzzing, Apple's new enhanced visual search feature. And of course, with anything Apple does, there are some privacy questions swirling around.
Yeah, Apple's definitely stirred up some controversy with this one.
So to get to the bottom of this, we're going to be looking at two main sources. First up, we've got this Reddit thread where users are, well, let's just say passionately debating Apple's decision to start analyzing photos with AI.
Sounds lively.
Oh, it is. And then we've got this piece from the Register. They're digging into the technical side of things and that whole lack of, user choice.
It is fascinating, isn't it? This one little feature has blown up into this huge debate about convenience versus control, especially in the age of AI.
Exactly. So for anyone who hasn't been glued to their tech news feeds lately, can you give us a quick rundown of what enhanced visual search actually is?
Sure, so imagine you're scrolling through your photos, right? And you're trying to find that one picture of, let's say, the Eiffel Tower. Instead of tagging every single photo manually, enhanced visual search uses AI to recognize landmarks, and it does all this right on your device.
Okay, so that sounds kind of cool, I guess. But also, maybe a little creepy.
That's the heart of the debate. The AI is doing all its analysis right there on your iPhone, not on some server farm miles away. Apple's even using fancy techniques like homomorphic encryption and differential privacy.
Right, but haven't people been a little skeptical of Apple's claims that all this is actually protecting their privacy?
Absolutely. The Reddit thread is overflowing with users who are suspicious, which is completely understandable. Because even if the data is anonymized and processed locally, it still makes you wonder, what information could Apple potentially be pulling from those analyses, even if they can't directly link it back to you?
It's all about the what ifs, right? Not what they're necessarily doing right now, but what they could do with that data in the future.
Precisely. And then there's the principle of it all, this whole idea that a decision was made for users, not with them. A lot of folks are really rubbed the wrong way by that opt-out approach.
The Register article really hammered that point home. They didn't shy away from expressing how frustrated many are with Apple's lack of communication around this. They even quoted one security researcher who said, and I love this quote, "The annoying thing about this is that we only find out about this stuff when it's already been activated."
It all comes down to trust, or rather the lack of it. When a new feature like this is just sprung on users, it makes them wonder what else might be happening behind the scenes without them knowing.
Yeah, not a great look for Apple, especially when they're always touting that privacy is a fundamental human right.
And it's particularly interesting given their track record. Remember their CSAM scanning plan? They wanted to scan users' photos for child sexual abuse material, but it faced huge backlash and was eventually scrapped.
Yeah, I remember that. And even though the goals are obviously very different between the CSAM scanning and this enhanced visual search, both touch on this idea of Apple making these unilateral decisions about what's acceptable when it comes to using user data.
Yeah.
Even if their intentions are good, that kind of we know best approach doesn't sit well with a lot of people.
It seems like this feature has touched a nerve because it taps into so many sensitive areas.
And speaking of sensitive areas, the Register piece brought up another layer to this whole thing. Apparently, even if you disable iCloud Photo Library, there's still a chance that some data might be collected.
Really?
Yeah. A software developer, Michael Tsai, raised that concern. And while it hasn't been definitively confirmed, it just adds another layer of unease to the whole situation.
And that's why transparency is absolutely key. When Apple doesn't clearly explain what data they are collecting and how it's being used, it's only natural for people to fill in the gaps with their own assumptions, which often leads to more anxiety and concern.
And that's where the Reddit thread gets really interesting. You've got the whole spectrum of reactions, everything from outrage and anger to, meh, who cares? And then, believe it or not, you've got some folks who actually think this feature is pretty handy.
The other side of the coin, right. Some people think being able to search for specific things in their photos, like receipts or certain landmarks, outweighs any privacy concerns.
One user was saying how they could just type in receipt and boom, all their receipts pop up. Another one said it helps them identify different plant species. Snap a photo of a plant, and the AI matches it to a Wikipedia entry.
It's a classic example of the trade-offs we make for convenience. In this case, that convenience might be coming at the cost of our privacy.
The question is, are we giving up more than we're gaining? This whole situation with Apple feels like a microcosm of a much larger conversation that's happening right now, the role of AI in our lives.
Exactly. As AI becomes more and more embedded in everything we do, those questions about data privacy, transparency, and control are only going to get more and more important. This isn't just about enhanced visual search, it's about this whole new frontier we're entering.
It's like we're standing at this crossroads, right?
Yeah.
AI could make our lives so much easier, but it also has the potential to chip away at our privacy if we're not careful.
It really is a balancing act. We want all these cool tools, of course, we want things that make life better, but how do we make sure they're not being used to exploit us?
That's the tricky part. Tech is moving so fast, it feels like sometimes the ethical side of things can't keep up.
Oh, I agree. It's not always about bad intentions either. Sometimes the people creating this tech just don't fully think through all the possible consequences. Like, how could anyone predict all the ways something might be used or misused years down the line?
Which brings us back to that user choice issue. Is it even realistic to expect everyday people to understand all the complexities of AI to actually make informed choices about their data?
Now, that is the question. Do we need more rules, more education, or do we need to completely rethink how this tech is designed in the first place?
I mean, think about it. We're always being asked to click agree on these super long terms of service agreements. I'm sure most of us just skim them, if we even read them at all.
Yeah.
It's not exactly a system built for informed consent.
You're telling me.
Yeah.
And that puts the responsibility squarely on the shoulders of these tech companies. They need to be more upfront, explain things in plain language, and give users real control over their own data.
It's not just about checking a box, right? It's about understanding what we're actually signing up for.
Absolutely. And it's about making sure we're the ones making those choices in the first place. I have to give Apple credit, though, this whole enhanced visual search thing, it sparked some really important conversations. Who gets to decide how our data is used in this age of AI? That's a question we need to answer.
So what can we do? As users, I mean. Do we just sit back and accept that our data is going to be analyzed, maybe used in ways we don't even know about?
Heck no. Knowledge is power, remember. So start by being more aware. Pay attention to what features you have on your devices, those privacy policies. Yeah, I know they're boring, but try reading them and then tweak your settings to what you're comfortable with.
It's about taking back some control, not just letting things happen automatically.
Exactly. But it's bigger than just fiddling with settings on your phone. We need to push for change at a higher level. Support groups fighting for data privacy, demand more transparency from these tech giants, and get involved in the discussions about AI ethics.
We have to make our voices heard. This isn't some niche tech issue, it's a societal one. It affects everyone.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's something we need to be talking about, thinking about, and taking action on right now.
So bringing it back to Apple and enhanced visual search, one thing that really jumped out at me from the Reddit thread was the concern about potential bias baked into the AI model.
Yeah, bias, the elephant in the AI room. It's so important. These systems learn from data, right? And if that data already reflects societal biases, guess what? The AI is just going to perpetuate those biases.
So, like, what if the model is way better at recognizing landmarks in Europe or North America, but not so accurate in other parts of the world? That kind of thing could have some real-world consequences.
You're absolutely right. It could make existing inequalities even worse, leading to unfair, even discriminatory outcomes. We need to be extremely careful about identifying and then mitigating those biases in every AI system we build.
One commenter said something that really stuck with me. It's not just about Apple seeing my photos. It's about the potential for this technology to be used for surveillance.
That's a chilling thought, but it's not completely out there, is it? Imagine a world where this technology is used to track people's every movement, figure out who attends certain gatherings, or even try to predict your behavior based on past patterns.
It sounds like something out of a dystopian movie. But it's a good reminder that technology is a double-edged sword. Even when the original intention is good, you always have to consider the potential for misuse.
And it underscores the point that the AI conversation needs to be much broader than just the technical aspects. We need to be talking about ethics, social impact, even philosophy.
So as we start to wrap things up, I want to zoom out a little. We've talked a lot about Apple today, but there's just one player in this whole evolving landscape.
Apple might be in the spotlight right now, but this isn't just about them. This is about a fundamental shift in how we interact with technology and how technology is beginning to interact with us.
And it's happening at lightning speed.
AI is already woven into our lives, often in ways we don't even realize. And it's only going to become more and more prevalent.
So where does that leave us? What can we do to make sure this whole AI revolution is a good thing, not something that ends up hurting us.
That's the big question everyone's asking, isn't it? It's not about being anti-technology. It's about being informed, being involved. We have to be proactive in shaping how AI develops and how it's used.
So, like, taking control of our digital future.
Exactly. And conversations like this are a good starting point. Raising awareness, sharing knowledge, questioning assumptions, all that helps steer AI in the right direction.
Well said. And that leads us to our final thought for today, something we didn't see specifically mentioned in the Reddit thread or the Register article, but it's a really important takeaway from this whole conversation. We talked about Apple using this opt-out approach with enhanced visual search. But what if this becomes the norm? What if, going forward, all these AI features are just automatically turned on without us really having a choice?
That's something to think about for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, on the one hand, it could make things easier, right? All these powerful tools just seamlessly integrated into our lives. But on the other hand, it could be a slippery slope toward less and less control over our data and how it's being used.
It's about finding that balance, I guess.
Mm.
How do we embrace all the cool things AI can do while still protecting our privacy, our freedom to choose, our humanity even? It's a question that needs our attention, needs some serious thought, and in the end, action.
Absolutely. The future of AI is being shaped right now. It's up to all of us to ensure it's a future we actually want to live in.
We hope this deep dive has given you some things to ponder, maybe even sparked a little fire to get involved in this crucial conversation. Until next time, everyone, stay curious and stay engaged.